today's lesson is 4.3, solve equations involving fractions. And the goal, once again, we've been doing this all chapter, is to find the value of x that satisfies the equation, but these types of equations will involve fractions. All right, so if there is an equation with one fraction, you will right away be able to identify the denominator. So what you need to do, because fractions may be difficult to work with and we need to get rid of them so that we can work on solving for x and moving everything else to the other side, like we've been talking about, you need to multiply everything by the denominator. So note to self, multiply each term by the denominator. So in this case, the denominator is 3. So this 6 is one term, so I'm going to put a 3 in front of that. And what you'll notice is all of this is multiplied together. So I'm going to imagine it's one big term, and I'm going to multiply it all by 3. Now, 3 times 6, that's pretty easy to deal with. It's 18 equals, and then on this side, 3 is going to be multiplied by 1, because that's how fractions work. Numerators times numerators. But you'll notice that there's also a 3 in the denominator. So because it's going to be 3 times 1 divided by 3, the 3's are going to cancel. It's going to be 3 divided by 3, because 3 times 1 and then divided by 3 will just equal 1. So what's left is just the 1 times 8 plus x. Now we all know the 1 times anything is not going to affect anything. So we can just distribute it right away, or even not write it in at all, because we don't need the 1. But 1 times 8 and 1 times positive x is still 8 plus x. So after we did this little note to self, everything else all the other steps you're going to see look just like what we've been working on before. Distribute, collect like terms across the equal sign. So remember, when the 8 moves to the other side, it's going to become a negative 8. And in this case, we don't need to divide by any coefficient because it's already 1. 18 minus 8 is 10, so that means x equals 10. Okay, and I'd like you to try one on your own. So take note of what the denominator is. It's a 4. You need to multiply both sides by 4. And after that, work around multiplying and distributing and rearranging the way we did before. We'll take this one up together. It gets a little bit more complicated when there is more than one fraction. So at the beginning of this chapter, we talked about LCD, or lowest common denominator. So you have to identify the LCD of all the fractions involved. In this case, there's 2. So when I look at 3 and 5, the lowest common denominator is 15. So the note, or the way to eliminate the fractions this time, is to multiply all terms, or both sides, by the LCD, the lowest common denominator. And watch what happens when we do that. If I multiply this side by 15, and I multiply this side by 15, once again, it's going to be numerator times numerator, all divided by, or all over the denominator. So you'll notice that the 15 on this side, if I divide it by 3, I can make the line a bit longer if you'd like. 15 divided by 3, all I'm left with is 5 for this coefficient, and then I still have the k plus 2. And on this side, if I do the division, I can make the bar a little longer here too. It's 15 over 5, and I can divide that, and 15 divided by 5 is 3. And you'll notice in this step now that the fractions are all gone. We've eliminated the fraction by multiplying by the lowest common denominator. Next step is to distribute. Okay, so we're multiplying. 5 times k is 5k. 5 times positive 2 is positive 10. 3 times k is 3k. 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. Collect like terms. We have 5k We're going to move the 3k, it becomes negative. We already have a negative 12. We're going to move the 10, it also becomes negative. We're going to simplify. 5k minus 3k is 2k. We're going to simplify negative 12 minus or subtract 10 more is negative 22. Divide by the coefficient. And we have k equals negative 11. And once again, here's an example for you to try. So the denominators right now are 3 and 4. You need to identify the lowest common denominator. Find out what that is. And once you do, you're going to multiply both sides by it. So both sides, or all the terms, would just be in front of the whole thing. Because once again, these are already multiplied together. So you can just multiply whatever LCD you choose in front of everything. And then remember that it's going to be that number times 1 divided by 3. That number times 3 divided by 4. So give that one a try. We'll take it up in class together as well.